Good afternoon. This is Scott DeCamp here with CatchMark Sportsnet, and this is Season 3, Episode 5 of the Van Dyke Mortgage West Michigan Conference Sports Podcast, brought to you by Durgan Insurance Group. We're live from the CatchMark Sportsnet podcast room in Whitehall here, and I'm joined by fellow co-hosts Ken Byard and Cody Kater. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Happy Monday.
Cody, I saw you at the GMA wrestling on Saturday at Montague. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean it was quite the event. I think Whitehall's obviously still pretty solid in that sport, and a lot other sports across the board too. But it was a lot of fun to see our kids compete. We're kind of a growing, I guess, program. So it was interesting to see some of our young guys step up, and then also see some of our ex-football players and guys who are coming back, be able to step on that mat and kind of represent Reese Puffer in a positive light. So it was my first GMAA wrestling meet.
Long day.
It was a very long day, but it was worth it. Got to see some old faces. It's held in Montague, so I mean it was fun.
Now, Ken, were you at Hope College? Is that where you guys were at? You went and saw former North Muskegon star T.J. McKenzie?
We did, yeah. We took a crew, the most of the basketball team down there Saturday night and checked out T.J. They played Elma. Horrible first half, and then scored 25 in the first half, the team did, and then they come out and score 60 the second half and end up beating Alma by 10 or 12 or something like that. But good game. Hit B-dubs on the way out like you have to do. And, it's just a good night. Yeah.
Without further ado, we'd all like to welcome our guest. It's Jack Schugars, the Hall of Fame football coach, dare say the godfather of Oak Ridge football.
Thank you.
And more. I don't know if is that a good thing, a good way to put it or not?
That's fair.
Maybe even not even at football, just Wolf Lake in general.
Lake, yeah.
I don't know about that. But
Mount Rushmore of Wolf Lake.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, his fingerprints are still all over that program. In 32 years as Oak Ridge's head coach, he coached high school football for 42 years. He guided the Eagles to 19 West Michigan Conference titles, 20 playoff appearances, 5 state finals appearances, and 3 state titles, winning them in 97, 2005, and 2008. So he retired in 2011, but that was not it for him in the coaching world. For several years running now, he's been helping out. He's a special teams coach at Ferris, and also helping out his son Eric up at Traverse City Central. So obviously Ferris coming off a second straight Division II national title. So, man, that's a lot. That's quite the list.
well,
That's a lot.
that's because I'm really old.
No, but thank you for joining us. And how are things going for you today, Coach?
It's just, first of all, I want to thank you for coming here, to be a guest here. It's just my pleasure to be here. I'm just really humbled to be able to be here. But things are going really well. We're doing our second weekend of recruiting. It was last weekend. We had some very good recruits coming in, and we have one more weekend of recruiting, and we'll sign the kids February 1st, and we're going to be have a great group of kids to sign again. So I'm excited to work with these kids, and especially some of the kids that I'm bringing in that they're going to be very big contributors to our program immediately.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think it'd probably be getting easier and easier to recruit at Ferris, isn't it?
Well, when you're two-time national championship, people are knocking at your door, and you get a lot more text and a lot more emails than you've ever had before.
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure. So, obviously, thrilled to have you on. Appreciate you making the time. And this is your first podcast, I understand. So
Yes, it is. My very first one.
So we'll take it easy on you then.
Well, you're already better than Scott, so don't worry about it.
That's a low bar.
I got Cody.
That's a low bar.
I got Cody Kater next to me, so I have to ask him for help.
No chance. No.
Yeah,
I'm going to do some learning here.
Do those old rivalries, are those kind of die hard or not? So, but we'll get to that in this podcast. But first, we got to thank our sponsors. Start with Grieve Law, West Michigan Joint Divorce Lawyers, Green Ridge Realty with Chris Dykman and Sarah Reel, Big Stone Therapies, North Grove Brewers, Foundation Systems in Michigan and John Bonton, Coldwell Banker with David Duesenberry, Scheid Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And a special thank you to our title sponsors, Van Dyke Mortgage Lakeshore. You can find them downtown Muskegon, Western Avenue, 460 West Western Avenue. Call them at 231-332-6500. And then our other title sponsor, this is Durgan Insurance Group, and you can find them in Norton Shores at 1535 Far Road. They're available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 231-744-9106. And then I say this every week during this live podcast, but we'd love to see you engage with us in the comment section. We already have one person in there, Timothy Miller. He's been on there a couple weeks already with us. said, fellas, happy Monday. So
Happy Monday, Tim.
Yep.
I'm glad he said that because I forgot what day it was already. So now that we've got that, we're through that. We welcome Jack Schugars. Thanks thanks. I have to say thanks to Cal Van Single too for helping to line this up because he was instrumental in getting this done. So I appreciate him doing that as well. So let's start off with a little background. You're a Muskegon High alumnus?
Yes, I am. I graduated in 1964, and it was a great class of 559 kids, and I had the opportunity to play hockey for Muskegon for 4 years with the junior Zephyrs back then, if anybody remembers the Zephyrs. And I didn't play high school football, so that's something interesting that all people want to ask me. How come you didn't? Well, I played hockey all my life. When I was old enough to skate, that's when I started skating. Then I played in the club sport at Western 1 year before they became the varsity D1 sport. I played for Western, and then I played in 2 leagues in Muskegon at the Walker Arena back then and the sports arena out there on Airline Road. So I played a lot of hockey growing up and a lot of hockey all through my life and early marriage.
Is it true that you were the Big Red mascot, or is that?
Yes, I was. Back then, I was in Boy Scouts, and that was a very prestigious, Gerber Scout Reservation, very well known for the Nikita Now Indian dancers, and I learned that from the actual Nikita Now Indian tribes. And so I began doing that when I was in Boy Scouts, and we did a lot of traveling. And so I really enjoyed Boy Scouts as a young man, and it was really a good situation for me.
Right.
So you get picked to do that? Did you?
Yeah, they have tryouts.
They had tryouts and everything,
yes.
so it was pretty serious.
Yeah, it was. Back then, it was really authentic, too. It
Yeah.
was very authentic and very, we did the things to do the natural culture of the Indians. And things have really changed since then, so.
That's awesome.
It's kind of went on the wayside since then, so. Then I went to college. I went off to college, so.
Yeah.
What type of lessons did hockey teach you at an early age, in just terms of team?
Well, the team, I'll get into that in my philosophy as a coach, but, you just have to compete. I love to compete, and that was a big thing in high school, to compete. And we didn't have that much hockey back then, back in the 60s, and we played, and in college we played all over. We played Ohio State, we played Windsor, we played Bowling Green, we played Oberlin, we played all these schools, and just to compete and to travel and compete, and just a great thing for me as a young athlete.
What steered you toward football? Like, where did you take such an interest? How did that all spark?
Well, I signed my contract to teach in 1968, and
For how much?
$5,500.
Attaboy.
No, that was my Camaro.
Yeah.
It was $4,900, and I bought a new car 2 weeks afterwards for $5,500. It was not a Camaro. I'm just teasing because I was a Mustang. So. That was $5,500 from Fred and Ag Ford on Henry Street back when I was a kid. Yeah. So I was still a kid, just a young guy out of college, 22 years old. So I started teaching, and then the superintendent said, I said, I want to coach hockey. He said, we don't have hockey here. Well, let's start one. Well, we can't do that. He said, how about coaching football? I said, I've never coached football. Let's give it a try. So, okay, let's start. So I started with junior high football, pretty successful there. 3 years there, 3 years junior varsity, 3 years varsity assistant, and then I became head coach in 1979.
Wow.
And all that, the lower levels, that was all at Oak Ridge?
All at Oak Ridge.
The entire time?
I've never been in another place to coach.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I'm a true guy. I'm a big guy in loyalty type of stuff. That's a big thing for me, and and so I was there, and I was planted there, and I had a good mentor. I lived with Rich McCarthy, who was a great coach for Oak Ridge and played at Northern Michigan and played for the Packers, and he was my mentor. We lived together on Wolf Lake in a bachelor pad, a true bachelor pad back then, and he taught me a lot. So I just kept like a sponge, just helped me every day, and to learn more about football.
No, but you look at the best programs that are out there, and one of the things I think is that continuity, stability. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Especially going back, Oak Ridge has had that for years, and there's a lot of the great programs have. So, Cody can speak to that too, I'm sure.
Right. I think also, I want to know that, I know you want to jump into your coaching philosophy right away, but I think the the Native American connection, the Boy Scouts, those types of things. Like, what did that teach you, like, when you were probably a younger coach at 22, 23 years old?
Well, as a growing up, the scouting was really strong back when I was a kid, and it really taught you discipline, self-discipline, and to do the things the right way and to follow a procedure. Just like it transfers to football. It's like when you do a drill, you don't step in the line, or you do step in the line, whatever the drill calls for, or you finish the drill. The same thing in scouting. You do the right things in scouting to accomplish your whatever situation you're in, whether it's a trail making or map making, or just something to do with the Boy Scouting and building a fire, even starting a fire without matches, just things like that. The attention to details, because as a coach, attention to details carries over. And I learned that in scouts, the attention to the details. So if you go out camping and you camp out with your scouts, you better have all your equipment there. That's attention to details and little things like that.
Right. So you made that connection right away, early on, like when you're at the middle school level?
Yes.
Okay.
Right away. Plus, my dad taught me work ethic. He owned a service station, so I worked at a service station for 50 cents an hour back when I was a kid, and I learned work ethic, to do the things right the right way, to do things like if you're cleaning an oil shelf, you take all the cans off and clean the oil shelf off and you put the cans back on and wipe them off. Those little things, attention to details again, and the work ethic. Do things right the first time so you don't have to redo them again. So that's all part of my growing up, and I was adopted when I was young, and so my parents were the ones that raised me and taught me the work ethic and the values, and we were not very wealthy at all. I mean, we were quite poor, but it taught me that I had to work for what I wanted. And my dad kept saying to me, "Don't do what I do the rest of your life. Go to college, you get an education, and don't work at the gas stations for minimal, very little money back then."
So a question from one of our viewers here, Timothy Miller again. He wants to know what Zephyr players did you look up to when you were playing?
Jerry Glaude, Moose Lalo, Joe Kastelik, Gary Ford, Brian McClay, a lot of great ones.
That's a nice nickname. I like Moose.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Moose Lalo.
Great
Moose
base,
Lalo.
number 2, yeah.
Yep.
There were some great players.
So did hockey help you develop that kind of killer mentality? I mean, you're talking about the scouting, detail, but how did you develop? Because there's got to be something that ticks inside you that wants to beat, the Montagues and the Ravennas and, year in and year out. Like, where did that develop? Did hockey help you develop that, or where do you think that was developed?
I think hockey helped me develop it because we wanted to win. We wanted to be the best and represent Muskegon High School, represent the junior Zephyrs, and that helped. That was a goal. But when I started hanging around with the football coaches and I started hanging around with people who were invested in the game of football, I found out what it really was all about as far as investing in the others and making them succeed and making them happy, making them have a goal and they succeed in these goals. And that just carries over from my goal setting and things that I've done as a coach. But really, it's more fun for me to see the kids win than me, actually, because I enjoy that joy of seeing players win. But, as a grandparent, I'm still teaching my kids that we're going to win these games. We're playing Uno.
Right.
You're there to win,
100%, yes.
I have a saying, you show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. That's kind of my mentality,
Right.
And I always want to win. But I learned that in the college hockey, we wanted to win all the time, and junior Zephyrs, and then when I started coaching, I became with friends. And then what really got me going, as a young coach, I became friends with a coach named Bill McCartney, who was at University of Michigan with Bo Schembechler. And I was just like a sponge, like an amoeba, and just trying to find out what makes things tick. And actually, I got my 52 angle defense from Bo Schembechler's defense back then when Bill McCartney ran a 52 angle, way back in Bo McCartney and Bo Schembechler years. So that's where I really got that. And I would just hang around these places, just want to hang around and get as much as I could.
So during that course of time when you're kind of coming up in your career, did you always have it in the back of your mind, like as you were into it, like, I think I want to be a varsity football coach? Was that kind of, or did it just kind of happen?
Well, here's the thing. I started winning.
Yeah, that takes care of a lot of things.
And when I was a junior high coach, we would play Steele and Bunker and Holland. I mean, these were big schools, and we would win. And that was a pretty good feeling. And I had some running backs, the Thompson brothers and Calvin Johnson. And, in fact, he just called me the other day. But anyway, I had some great players that were there, and we built that program, and we started winning. Then I went up to the JVs, and we won there, too, until they started stealing my players to the varsity. And then, but I love to win. And then I applied for the job. And when it came open, 76, and I didn't get it. They had about 30 candidates, and they hired a man named Cal Fox, who came out of Houston Oilers back then, and Michigan State University. So they hired him for 3 years, and we were okay. and then he decided to leave, and then they gave me the head job in '79, and then the rest is kind of history. But I knew after I got that taste of winning and seeing the kids, the joy in the kids of their efforts, their work, the things they did to become successful, attention to detail, the team. Nobody's an individual. We don't have stickers on our helmets. We don't have names on our jerseys. We don't have streamers hanging off from all of our belts, We're the team. And I got that from Bo Schimbecker, to be honest with you. I mean, it's the team. And I preach that all the time. And you win as a team and you lose as a team. And that kind of carried over from those days. And even in hockey, when I played hockey, you win as a team and you lose as a team. We had a coach who was a great coach, and he kept talking about you don't win by yourself. It's everybody playing together. And that's all started back then. All started way back then.
That's fascinating.
So what
That's
are you
really
what
cool.
what would you say some of your coaching core values would be then as we're falling back on all of this and reflecting, what do you think your core values are?
That's I'm glad you asked that question, because the first question, a lot of people ask me, well, what are you? I tell them this, there's three things that make up me, and this is what you need to know first. My first priority in my life is my faith, and my faith and my following of Christ is very, very important to me. Number two is my family. I have a son with a wife, Carissa, and they have 3 children and grandchildren, and my daughter is married with Matt, and they have 3 daughters, and that's my family is core. It's part of my makeup, and then football is third. So I'm never going to push one aside for the other. I do as much as I can to be with my family events and to have my family to come with me. And in fact, in last year when we won the national title the first time, I had all the family in Texas with us. So
and that's the only F word you're ever going to use. Those words, faith, family, football, right?
That's a lot. That's a lot like
that.
That's a lot like Cody.
Just like him.
That's for sure. I'm going to use those 3 F words for sure. Yeah. But I just think that if you're not aligned there's something missing in your life. And you can see how faith was important in the Hamlin injury or our country. I mean,
right.
How people just came together and collectively had the faith and to help that young man from that injury. It's just apparent that when things get tough, sometimes people have to fall back on their faith, and some people don't have that. But that's just the way I'm built. I don't push that on anybody, and I just this is the way I live, and I'm not perfect. We're never perfect. So that's the situation that makes me what I am right today. When that goes right into my football, I want to have integrity, honesty and integrity in our program. I tell our players, never lie to a coach. Never lie to a coach, because once you lie to a coach, it's really hard to get that trust back again. That trust, you got to be able to be trusted. And honesty and integrity and commitment and loyalty. I've had some loyal coaches that tremendous loyalty, and I think the most important thing in hiring coaches is loyal to you. If I could hire a guy that's going to be loyal to me, that's what I want. I mean, I can teach him the X's and O's, but if he's bought into what I believe in our program and things that we're doing, we can teach him the X's and O's. Tony Anise does the same thing. When he hires coaches, he wants to know how they treat kids. How do you treat kids? I know one of our defensive line coaches, who has 4 guys in the NFL, his whole interview was, how do you treat kids? How do you handle kids? What do you expect of kids? Nothing about X's and O's. That's a true story.
So you had to feel good about turning the program over to Kerry then, I'm assuming,
Oh, no
right?
doubt about it.
I
This guy-
see, as you talk, Kerry's a good friend of mine. We went to Hope College together, and I see a lot of what you embody in him. And so were you part of that hiring process when you were?
Yes.
Okay, so that made you feel good to be able to turn that program over to him.
There's no doubt about
Yeah.
it. You know, right now, I think there's probably 14 or 15 guys who are on the staff that played for me or coached for
Yeah.
me or both. I mean, I'm talking about played for me
That's unheard of.
and
Yeah.
coached for me, and now they're the coaches. You know what? The bottom line is the train's still going down the track pretty darn good.
Yeah.
You just got a new conductor. That's the bottom line. You know,
Yeah.
so and I love Karen, and I love Tim, and I love all my players. If you don't love your players, you shouldn't be in the coaching profession.
So we've got a couple more comments here. Trent Foda says, hey. And Sean Hadke, who's on in our comments a lot, says, living legend. Calling you a living legend. So,
Thank you.
What do they call you on Wolf Lake?
Hey, well, hey, most of the time it's K Coach.
Oh,
Most of the
okay.
time kids go
That's
by.
cool.
You
That
probably
is-
coached most of the
you know,
whole career.
Yeah.
Calvin Johnson, who's one of the top medical doctors in California, and he said to me, I can't call you anything but coach. You know,
Right.
He played for me in 1976. You know, so he's still a great guy. And I'm still in contact with him and his family. And
Well, that's
Right.
when you know you did it right? When they can't call you anything else but coach.
Right.
there's so many people like that, and I just love being called coach. I think that's just the
Yeah.
greatest thing. And the college guys call me Shugs.
Oh, okay.
Coach Shugs or Shugs all the time. That's what they call me.
I think the day and age has changed. I don't know if I've ever been. It's Coach or Kater, one of the two. It's never Coach Kater. It's never Mr. Kater. It's Kater, you know, or it's Coach.
Well, I just left the building.
Yeah.
And guys came.
Yeah.
Hey, Shugs! Hey,
Yeah,
Shugs! Where you
yeah.
going, Shugs? I said, I'm going home right now. So
Yep,
do you
that's
like
cool.
being called Mr.? Or does it make you feel old?
Yeah, I mean, there's a sign of respect in Montague. I think you had to say Mr. Kater. I think in the classroom. But yeah, since I've been gone from there, it's Kater or Coach. I don't care. Titles, labels, whatever, man. Like, let's just
You can call me
get to
whatever
the
you
stuff
want.
that matters. Yeah,
Just don't call me late for dinner.
so that doesn't matter.
So what players over the course of your time at Oak Ridge maybe, didn't stand out as the most talented, but you got the most out of? Are there any?
well, here's the thing. Every coach has players that they like more than others, maybe. But the bottom line is this: they all played for you. They all invested in the program. They gave what they had to the program, and they're all the kids I love, all of them, from the very first kid to the 40th kid on the roster. And it's just like saying to you, Scott, who do you like more? Who's your daughter, your son, or which one do you like? Which child do you like better? Well, I can't say that, but I tell you one thing: there's two athletes in the history of Oak Ridge schools that have set the bar, that have raised the standard. And that's what we did in the football program. But the two people who said it for all athletes is Jamie Potts and Sophia Wyard. Those are the two that set the standard. That's where the bar is. If you want to get to the top, that's the bar you want to reach.
Interesting.
That's the standard. That's where you want to achieve. And I can tell you many, many players, name after name after name after name. I love them all, and I tell them that. I tell kids that all the time, and Coach Anise and I, every time we talk, we always say, love you. All the staff. See, that's what this is all about. The whole program for my history of coaching is love, and that's the same thing with Coach Anise. If you know him at all, it's love is the foundation of our program. That's what wins. That's what wins football games. You got to love the players, and you got to love your coaches too.
And it's not always easy. When you say love, it's not. There's tough love in that too.
Oh,
It's not just.
definitely.
There's discipline and all those things too, right?
Yeah, I remember. I'll just tell you one quick story. I had a player one time. We were undefeated, and then we had film on Sunday night. I brought him in my biology room, and we had film set up. And he said, "Coach, I got to talk to you." Well, he said, "Coach, I got caught for minors in possession last night." I said, "Well, you're going to be suspended for 5 games. 5 games back then." And he said, "I know." I said, "But I'm going to support you, and you can take your punishment and come back." Well, the bottom line is he learned a huge lesson. I told him I still loved him, and to this day, I still love him and tell him that to this day. And he knows he made a mistake, and we lost a few games after that because he was a really good quarterback for us. But a lesson learned, but love was learned also. And to do the right thing, tell me instead of me finding out by someone else.
Yeah.
And those are lessons that last a lifetime. And the love of players, sometimes it's tough love, like you said, because Tony brings in players who some people won't touch. But he believes in second chances. You have a second chance, if you screw up again, okay, but now we're going to give you a second chance. People need second chances today. There's so many people who just throw the baby out with the dishwater. I mean, that's it. You're gone. But I think Coach Anise has a policy of bringing kids in who might be marginal, but he loves them, and he knows that, and they know what they got to do to achieve, and they have to stay in the straight and narrow. You know, sometimes kids fail, sometimes they don't. But most of the time, our kids succeed because of one reason, because the people truly love the players. And the whole staff is like that.
So you know, that whole foundation of love, you know, we mentioned on previous podcasts that, you know, we heard Tony talk about how that's the foundation. Is that different? Is it easier? Is it more difficult with high school players and trying to convey that than it is with college players? Because you're talking about a difference in age. You know what I mean? Is it awkward for a high school kid? You know what I'm trying to ask?
I think it's more awkward for high school kids, for sure. I think so, because, you know, sometimes they don't want to get misperceived or something. What's this all about? You know, they're kind of, stay away from that. But when you get to college kids, it's very common, you know. And I just was with my kicker just a little while ago. I gave him a big hug and I said, "I see you, love you, love you." You know, that's just common for us when we go.
It's just part of the language.
It's part of our language with our players. And it builds a program of really strength. I think that's the key of any coaching. I mean, you know, you have to have the rules. You know, you have to do the things right. You have to do where you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to be right and be able to trust kids. But those things, I never had a lot of rules, like, you know, but, you know, I have to do the things right. You know, we had to be on time. My practice started at 7:59. That's the way it started. I mean, we started at 7:59, and that's it. You better be there. Otherwise, you're running 5-yard down-ups for every minute you're late. So that's something they knew right away. Hey, if I'm not there on time, I'm going to do 20 down-ups after practice with the coach. But that instills some discipline. It involves attention to details. Attention to details, I'm there at 7:59. That's the time we started practice. So those things are, but it's still a love. And they know I still love them for that. I mean,
for sure.
Still love them no matter how many down-ups they did.
Right. What did Byard and Potts do so different?
They were in the gym when no one else was there. They were the first ones there, the last ones to leave. They had attention to details. They watched film. They did things right. They, as a baseball player, he was hitting all the time. As a football player, he was studying film. He was doing the drills he was supposed to do. He was getting his body physically, by diet, by exercise, by the things he did right. Didn't put anything bad into his body. Both of them were just tremendous role models for the other kids. And everybody looked up to them because they set the standard by doing things right and not cutting corners. So many kids cut corners to think they can achieve the same thing that those who don't cut corners. It can't be done today.
So you got a couple comments here. One from David Duesenberry. He goes, "I would have loved to have played for Coach. Love his messages, the 3 Fs." Then Sean Hadkey says, from 4-5 and 04, which I don't remember you guys ever having a losing record, but Sean knows his stuff usually. So
yes,
from 4-5 that year to 13-1 state champs in 05, what was the major difference or two in that turnaround, do you think?
Kids who didn't buy into the program. Kids who did not buy into the program. They were a me. They had the disease of me, and I could not get the disease out of them. Mm-hmm. It was all about me. And you always have a group, if you're coaching long enough, you're going to have a group. I've only had a couple of losing seasons, but that group I remember well, and I know exactly who the people who had that disease of me, and that was a problem. I probably should have eliminated those diseases early, but I just didn't do it, and I learned a lesson.
You're going to tell us those names, right?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to tell you those names.
Wait, Ken didn't play at Oak Ridge, did he? I was wondering.
So
What did you do differently in the off season to make sure that you turned it around, you flipped it around? Like a lot of learning lessons, I'm guessing, but yeah.
I said, we're not going to have these attitudes. We're not going to have this. We're not going to do this, and it's not going to be the disease of me. And then also I put kids up to a bigger test. We would go to different places. Like, for example, instead of going to 7-on-7 with Grant, we'd go to 7-on-7 with Farmington Hills Harrison. So we would go
Competition, yeah.
competition. We'd increase the competition, and we'd go to a Tiger game, stay all night hotel, go to a Tiger game, have fun, be together as a team, build the unity, of kids, and that makes a huge difference when kids know you're building into them and putting time into them. And then say, hey, this is, we went to Farmington Hills and got waxed, But what we did is we increased our competitive level.
Right.
The competition was so much better. And the kids, they bought in. And they didn't have that disease in me. They understood that, hey, look at these kids from Farmington Hills Harrison. Look what they're doing. How do you want to be there? You want to be there? Yeah, let's be there,
So what are the best moments at Oak Ridge?
Well,
that's got to be hard to kind of nail down, but.
Well, I got the first one. I can always remember that 1985, our first trip to the playoffs. That was our very first trip to the playoffs. That was really cool. That was really, really cool.
Who'd you guys play?
We played Belding and got beat.
Oh, yeah.
and that's when they only had 4 divisions, right?
4 divisions.
Yeah.
And in 1979, 1989, we only allowed 29 points all year long. Was it 89? I can't remember the year now. We didn't make the playoffs. We only allowed 29 points all year. We're 8-1.
Didn't make the playoffs.
Muskegon. And it was a tough road to hoe back then.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the greatest moments were the first time for the playoffs, because that brought, the school, we're going to the playoffs, that's pretty cool. And then naturally, the trip to Pontiac Silverdome against Detroit DePorres, which was loaded, which was really loaded.
Chuck Winters, I think.
Oh, yeah. They were fantastic. We were ahead 13-0 at halftime. I said, I wouldn't have to. What do you do now? What do you do now? It's 13-0. We're ahead.
We got to go back out there?
Yeah.
Can we just stop right now?
I know.
Well, final score, 22-13.
Well, I mean, between Oak Ridge, Ravenna, and Montague, they all seem to follow similar script, same fate against DePorres. They're all right there. Had a chance to win it, but just DePorres just kind of
Tremendous.
came away with it at the end each
Tremendous
time.
talent. Maybe not the best schemes in the world, but they had the talent to make up for it. And naturally, the first state championships, 1997.
Maple Valley.
Vermontville, Maple Valley, 6-0, big high-scoring affair. Wow. So, Vermontville, Maple Valley, that was a big one. And then in 2005, we were a big underdog to Jackson, Lumen, Christie, and they were really good. They had some big-time players. And we won 42-28. We had a quarterback named DJ Rich.
That was probably the
was a
best
stud.
single game performance, one of the best I've seen against a quality opponent. I mean, we get to the finals, they're all good, right? But against a powerhouse like that, because they had no answers for you guys or for him.
Well, I think so when you're playing outside linebacker and quarterback too. I mean, how that's East Muskegon, that's Oak Ridge football, at its finest. Like DJ Ritz, you throw that name out there, you're like, dude played outside linebacker, like DN. Kind of
they all had mustaches
right there.
like Cody does right now.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm telling you, dude, that was we looked up to him, man. I mean, even in Montague, just because of that, the toughness piece.
Tough.
For sure.
It was tough.
For sure.
Yeah. And Joe Collette was an OC back then, and he did a great job.
Yeah.
And we had audibilized away from that All-American kid, so we just audibilized. If it was over here, we would run over here.
No, and I was sitting there watching
sometimes.
it, just thoroughly impressed watching that, because over and over, Lumen's going to make some good adjustments. Obviously, they're good for a reason, but they had no answers that day.
Yeah, we played really well, and then we won in 2008, 28-14 over at Elsie, and they had the running back Chris Robinson, who went on to play at Grand Valley. He was an excellent player at Grand Valley.
Yeah,
and we did a really good job with them too. So that was a good group, and that's where Jamie Potts was a quarterback then. He was must have been just a sophomore then.
I think he was a sophomore. Yep.
Sophomore then.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and probably one of the biggest games I can remember is going over to Saginaw and beat Saginaw Newville in 1997, and we beat them 32-14, and we should have never been in a ball game with them because they had so many great players. It was a snowy, muddy day, and we just played really well.
Yeah.
And I did the defense back then. I put a scheme where we locked our outside linebacker in the tight end. So that was a different scheme that nobody's ever seen that before, you know. And he was a big time tight end, and we did a really good job with that. So.
And you're gonna have those near misses too, like the team up up in the Upper Dome. Oh, yeah. I know. Like he had to bring it up.
Yeah, seriously, this guy.
No, but that was I thought that was a great Oak Ridge team too.
Yeah, that was a really outstanding team. That was in
96, I want to say maybe.
96. We lost 17-16 to
Iron Mountain.
Iron Mountain. I know the exact play. We call a pass. The guard comes and blocks the end. Well, we didn't block the end, and the guy was wide open in the end zone. All we had to do was block the end and win the game. That was a long ride home.
Well, you're gonna have some great teams that don't win at all, too. I mean,
we have some
you said
great
that
teams.
before.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of luck.
There's outstanding teams, but you know the thing that you remember the kids with the teams, you know, the different kids, and you still see them, you know, and you still see them, you hear from them, and just that's remarkable. There's a player that I had in '97, and I still go out and see in Colorado. He worked for the government in an agency. I can't tell you what the name of it is, but I still see him once a year. So it's just a pretty neat thing, and he had a son and named him Jack, and I just I probably cried for an hour after he told me that. So just a
awesome.
remarkable young man. So
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
it's just a great kid. But you know, besides the players, I've had some great coaches that are Hall of Fame coaches: Mark Jolovic, Joe Coletta, Kerry Harger. These guys were loyal. Tim Parker. I mean, these guys were loyal to me, you know, and they just worked. They worked, and they wanted to find a way to win, and they believed in me, and they backed me up. You know, naturally, coaches don't always agree with the head coach, but we always got it done, and they were great Hall of Fame coaches, and they're still doing great things where they're still coaching. Joe's doing a great job with softball right now.
Do you think you build that loyalty, or do you think like you have an eye for it? Like, how do you find those guys to be like to surround yourself?
You have to surround yourself with those kind of people, but you got to know the character of the person. You got to watch him. You know, I watched Joe when he was at Ravenna. I saw the type of character he was as a player, and then so I really stole him from Ravenna. I did. That's where I got him from. And I can remember the exact day where I asked him to come to join Oak Ridge staff. So I saw his character. I knew his family. His family was well known, a very popular, very athletic family. And Joe was just a guy that I said, I want that guy. There's something different about him. You can kind of see it in the guy's character. And then Kerry, student taught at Grand Haven. He started coaching there, and I said, well, he's got to come to Oak Ridge. And I just saw his character because he played for me. A lot of times, if a kid played for you,
Right.
You have
and
an
they go
idea.
on to school, you know what they are.
Right. Yeah.
But I didn't hire just too many people off the street, you know. And but I knew where they came from, and I knew what they stood for, and they knew what Oak Ridge football was all about. And so that's crucial. I think crucial. Surround yourself with good people. I surrounded myself with great people. I mean, all of them could be great head coaches, you know, all of them. And it was just that's how you win. That's how you win.
What was it like coaching against and scheming against this guy right here?
Well, he was a player. He played free safety, right? Mm-hmm. And he played quarterback. So, you know, we had 3 games when you were playing with us, 3 times. And we got
You were 2-1, yeah.
2007.
Yeah, you were 2-1.
In 2008, we played against him, and then we got waxed.
My senior year, yeah.
Your senior year, you
Right.
I can still remember leaving that game. I just, whoa. Yeah, but I knew they were really going to be. You know, here's the thing: you can see a leader and how he leads the players, and this was him, and his athletic ability, top notch. You know, so he was a guy we were keying on. We tried to key on him because he could run the ball. He was probably the first guy that ran a lot before the quarterback run schemes.
Right.
You know, we're a big quarterback run scheme at Ferris. I mean, that's a big package, quarterback run package. You started doing that in 7, 8, and 9, right?
Right.
And
yeah.
there wasn't a lot of that around.
No, I think maybe some of it was drawn up in the sand by Pat, but you know, we were pulling tackles and pulling guards and reading backside, you know, way before, you know, that I think that you saw it normalized, I guess, on Saturdays, but like we were always pulling and reading the backside wherever that was at. And, you know, it was new in 08 when we went down there. That was probably one of the best games that we've been in, but you know, we lost to you guys, but there's a guy with one hand that had like a cast on the other hand, picked the ball off with 17 seconds left. Someone, I don't know who threw it, but I do. I live with them every single day. But I do. I just remember that game as well. It was just like going to my senior year. It's like, man, I gotta beat Jack Schugars. Like I can't. You know, Kyle beat him once. You know, my middle brother, I was like, I got to find a way. You know, I got to find a way to beat these Eagles. Dude.
You didn't even say Oak Ridge. You said, I got to beat Jack.
Yeah. No, it was just like, I'm coming after Schugars, man. Like, I don't know whatever squad he's coming with, but I'm beating Jack Schugars. Something.
Well, you got it. You got that. You got it.
Yeah, we did.
It wasn't just an easy beat. It was a drum beat. It was a beat like a drum, you know.
No, that was, you know, we had a really good team in 09. I think Drew Panetto ran for like 200 and something yards that game.
He was a player, man.
Yeah, he was really, really tough as well.
So Sean Hadke says on here, 2007, all love, but those halfback passes were the unexpected difference. And he's kind of the laughing, crying.
Yeah. There's a few trick plays there. That was at our place. You know, there's a few trick plays. Got it. You know, I can't. Like, yeah, we weren't expecting them, you know, and you did a very good job of setting those up, or Joe.
You always had names for them too, special names for those plays.
Whoever was calling the plays,
we had some,
dialed it up.
We had
Daffy Duck and stuff like that.
Daffy Duck was one of them. Yes, you know, the state championship in the national title game, Brady Rose threw a touchdown, you know, almost a touchdown pass. Really changed the game.
A little double bubble there.
Yeah, double bubble. Yeah, it was a double bubble. It was fantastic. It was kind of reminded me of the
right. No, you had all the tricks that game, and we had a couple tricks though up our sleeves. But yeah, that was an interesting game.
You know, I like playing against teams that are competitive. I don't. It's not really that much fun to win 48-6. You know, it's fun to win. But I like to compete and have those games where you're coaching every play and your kids are playing every play, and you're going to go against Montague, you're going to go against Cody Kater, you're going to go against Ravenna and Dusty Fairfield, you're going to go against some great players there. You know, so those are fun games because you work hard at it and you know it's going to be a lot of crowd. I mean, we had a great following. I mean, we had a great number of people. They'd line up. We had our team meal would come out. People would be lining up at 3:30.
Yeah, those are two great communities that travel well.
Right.
You know.
Well, 2008, it was sold out before the game started.
Yes.
You know, we came across the field. You know, we're in the locker rooms at maybe your upper elementary. I'm not sure where that's at. Yeah. And then we came and it was already sold out. People were in line telling us as we're walking by we can't get in because it's sold out already. It was one of those.
That's crazy.
Something that you'll never experience again. I mean, I think Matt DeYoung his first punted it into the stands because he was so nervous with everyone watching him warm up. You know, it's just one of those games. Yeah, I mean, experiences that you take on forever. For sure.
Can I change the topic real quick?
Sure.
You mentioned Brady Rose, right? And his legend, his high school legend, probably comparable to Cody's. What makes Brady so special at the college level? You know, because he's undersized. He's not. You know, you look at him and you don't think a contributor on a national championship team, but he finds a way. So what makes him so special in your opinion?
I think Jake is a versatile athlete, which has great control, and he understands the game. He's a student of the game. You know, we have our punt meeting or punt team meeting or kickoff meeting. He's there making sure every single thing is attention to detail. There's that point again, attention to detail, and he does the right thing. If the meeting starts we have a punt meeting at 11 on Tuesday, he's there at 10 to 11. You know, whatever. So he's ready to go. He wants to learn. He wants to get better, and he wants to just compete. He's a competitor. Plus, he's a winner.
So I got to ask you this, and that's just putting the cart way in front of the horse, but would he ever down the road have a chance to play professionally just because of just because of some of those instincts? I know those can only carry so far, but would he ever have any kind of opportunity, do you think?
Well, I don't really. I'm not that good a judge for players to go from college to. I mean, I have my ideas. I don't really know that right now. We had a player come in. 2 players that are in the NFL now were walk-ons. Jack Schugars, with the Miami Dolphins, he came around and he didn't even play the first 2 years. He played little games. His 8th game his 3rd year, and then now he's one of the top players in the NFL. Tavier Thomas with the Houston Texans. He is just tremendous. But when he came on, he came from a small school in Detroit with a film that someone filmed in the stands with a little camera, and he kept bugging Tony to come and give us a tryout. Let me try out. Well, come spring ball, and then by the 4th game of the season, he was a starter, and now he's in the NFL. I mean, so you really don't know how kids get to develop, because I think kids develop a lot better in college than they do in high school. I mean, that's where you develop. I mean, that's where you really get strong, and you really get the drills, and you really look at film, and you put the time in, and you work on all the things that you're the weakness at. They'll work on you as a quarterback or running back. But as far as a competitor, in his heart, he's all the way. I mean, as far as that concerned, I'm not sure about the NFL, but I know one thing: he's the greatest. One of the greatest players we have on the team for plays every single special team.
Just the intangibles that he's got.
Intangibles, like like Jared Barnhart was a lacrosse player of the year last year. Plays for the Atlanta Falcons, until he got hurt this year. But I would never have thought that. I never would have thought that. I know he's a great talent, and Tony knew that right away too. So Tony's a great judge of talent. So.
Yeah, when you were retired from Oak Ridge, did you know that you're going to go help out at GRCC, or like what? How did that avenue get created for you?
Well, Tony and I have been friends since he was at Montrose. We go to powerlifting there. Excuse me. And so we were friends, and I'd go to Muskegon and watch, things there. And then when I retired, about a week later, he called me. He says, "How about this, coming over to work for us? Be a life coach, love the kids, hug them, be around them, support them," because the Grand Rapids kids needed a lot of support. There were some marginal kids there. And so I said, "Yeah, I'll be glad to do that." And then I led a chapel service before the games, and then I had an FCA on Wednesday nights. So he just wanted me a part of that program. And I was a non-paid job naturally, so. And I'd help the kids, and I'd help the kids make sure that they had food and stuff, and make sure that the kids were doing the right things as much as I could. We had a great squad of players there. And then, so I enjoyed that, and I started working with the special teams a little bit then, because I knew a little bit about it. And and then the night before I got the job, he called me, "You want to do special teams at Ferris?" So I had the phone in my hand, and my wife was sitting here, and I was there. She says, "Hey, Julie, I'm going to coach Ferris special teams." Is that okay? Yeah, it's okay. That's exactly how it went down. True
Is that
story.
okay? I love that.
Yeah.
True story.
That's awesome.
So that dynamic between you and Tony, I mean, I think us from the outside look at it, that's kind of like the odd couple. But what really has drawn you guys together, and how similar and how different would you say you guys are?
Well, we love the game of football. That's a given. We care about our families. When his kids were playing, when we were at Ferris and his kids were playing, he would leave practice early to go watch his son play baseball or something. We care about the kids, and those are key things, that we have in common. But let me tell you a little story about Tony that's going to make you understand him. My wife passed away August 25th, 2020. We were married 49 years and 4 days. And a tragic accident, but I don't want to go into details, but the person came to my door the next day and knocked on the door was Tony and niece. He was right there for me. And then it was during COVID too. And then the funeral, we all had to have the mask on and stuff. And the whole Ferris staff, the Oak Ridge staff, they were all there and really supported me big time. But Tony really put his arm around me a lot. It's a tough time, and still is a tough time for me. Because she was a football wife. The kids would come over, and we'd have, we'd swim in the lake and all kinds of things. She was a football wife, and Tony knew how much, our marriage and the love I had for my wife and family. And so he was the first guy there at the door from outside my family. That's how he cares about people. I mean, that doesn't happen. I mean, but it's a constant thing. He always wants the best for me, and so that's why we have such a great friendship, because he wants the best for me, and I want the best for him. I mean, he loves the game of football. I mean, I've seen him in his house with a computer, a television, and an iPad with 3 different games going, watching football.
Right. Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Next level stuff.
Yeah. And he knew if he brought you on that he could continue to use other Fs, knowing that you weren't going to. So that
He took yours.
It kind of made it kind of marginalized everything a little, and it made it the median got an average. I mean, the mean got a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller on the amount of Fs.
I didn't say that at all.
Yeah, okay. I'm hoping he's listening to this. That's just the rumor.
That's the rumor.
That's the rumor that we heard.
I cannot confirm or deny that situation. But the biggest thing, he has a love for kids. He gets invited to almost every senior's wedding that graduate, just about. I mean, I've never seen a guy gets invited to so many weddings. And the care of the kids, when people don't want the kid or turn away their back to him, he'll be there for them. That's the love thing again.
Yeah.
People still around here still speak really highly of him. And in the days he was coaching at Whitehall, and he coached both boys and girls basketball at the same time. That's crazy.
Right. I mean, I played with him for for a year. So I mean, when we still have a relationship after 1 year. I mean, I was with, coaches at Central Michigan, for 3 years, that I don't have the relationship that I have with Tony that I only had for 1 year. So I mean, it goes on and on and on. I'm just one little story, but it goes on and on about many others.
That's a great story, though. I mean, 3 years of one school, one another. So guess
Right.
what?
Right.
That's the whole thing. That's what coaching is all about.
Right.
That speaks volumes. Yep.
Yep.
For sure.
I know. I don't know what his boys' basketball record at Whitehall was, but I'm pretty sure yours was better at Oak Ridge in terms of football. In the WMC there.
So one of the topics that we had on here, and I think maybe we transition here, is the recruiting. It's obviously easier when you're winning national titles. How's the portal and the NIL and all of that stuff? How's that affecting college recruiting?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll start with name, likeness, image first. That hasn't really hit the D2 as much as it has D1.
Right.
So we don't have a lot of people now. We have a few kids that involved some gear or something like that. But the portal has changed football. The portal has decreased the opportunities for high school kids and made kids not stick to their commitments in college. That's just my thinking. I think when a kid says, "I'm going to play for you," let your yes be yes and your no be no. I mean, I'm going to be loyal to you, and I'm not going to take my ball and go to another school. And I just think it's really changed the whole outlook of college football, because there's thousands of names in the portal.
Yeah.
There's thousands of names in the portal.
Like, something has to change, right? Like, the NCAA has to fix that.
Well, what's happening is the high school kids are losing out because we're not taking as many high school kids.
Right.
But we're not taking, we're taking a few in the portal, but very minimal to compare to other schools in our league. The numbers in the portal in the 20s to our maybe 3 or 4, maybe, So it depends how you want to build your program too.
Right.
You want to have a flash in the pan for 1 year with these portal kids and the kids who you brought in. Are you going to put them on we don't need you now. We got this other kid in for a year, and how does that make you feel that you were brought in? So that's what I think is happening to kids. So if I can't play, I'm going to go in the portal. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm going to take my ball and go over this field. You know?
Yeah, it just seems like it would be maddening as a recruiter and as a college coach right now that you just don't know the commitment levels and where kids are. Even when they tell you to your face, you know, they're going to stay or they're not going in the portal, and they do, and now I don't know. It just seems like a mess. It just seems like a mess.
Well, we've been pretty fortunate. Number one, because we're winning.
Right.
Number two, because the pillars of our program, faith, order, love, and discipline, got to be in the fold, which Tony's program pillars are. Faith, order, love, and discipline in the fold. And the kids buy into that and believe into that. And it's great for our program, and it's great for the kids' morale. And they understand that, hey, this is college football. It's not like high school. High school, I was a big fish in a little pond. Now I'm a little fish in a big pond. So this is what it's like, and this is the dedication, determination, and discipline, commitment to do the right things and do the drills and finish the drill, and it's about the team. So that has changed football. Mm-hmm. I think it hurts high school kids more than college.
Right.
Yeah, we're finding that out right now as high school coaches. Just that they're not taking as many chances on kids that they want to develop. As a red shirt or something along those lines. They want
preferred walk-on, right? Like those kids don't have a chance now.
Yeah, and some of those preferred walk-ons too are like they don't have to honor your scholarship anymore. They can honor a transfer, a scholarship, or go try to find someone like that. Right. I mean, I think those are probably the losing programs. I think a program like Ferris is probably going to honor the preferred walk-ons or the walk-ons or the people that you're part of our family. You need to be given those things, but that's why the culture piece probably eats those X's and O's up at Ferris compared to maybe some of these other losing programs that are taking 20 transfer portals, changing the whole dynamic of their locker room really quick. Yeah.
You're exactly right. You hit that right in the head. We're not going to get rid of a player unless he doesn't go to practice or go to class. That's the only time we're going to get rid of a player if he fails academically or does not meet the going to practice.
Right.
Football necessities, But we're not going to cut loose a kid that we said, hey, you're coming to our place, you're coming to our place. That's the way it is, and you'll be there.
Love it.
How do you juggle coaching college and high school in the same season and driving, you go from Big Rapids to Traverse City and back?
Well, one thing, Ferris, we practice at, I bring my special teams on like early in practice, like 10:45, and then we'll start walk through at 11, then we'll start 11:15 to 1:15. So we're done at 2 o'clock, 1:15. And then Tony talks to the players, and then I jump in my car and drive to Traverse City for a 3 o'clock practice. So I get to do 2-a-days all year long.
And you're retired.
Yes. But I'm not a good fisherman or hunter, so and my golf game is bad. So
well, I'm a slacker. That's all. I'm a slacker.
So how can you not coach with your son?
Right.
If you have the opportunity.
If I have the opportunity to coach with my son, I'm not going to ever turn it down. He got the job at 215, and I said, I'm going to let him go for 2 years and see how he does. I don't want Dad to be part of that.
Right.
And so I waited till 217 to start helping him a little bit more. I missed Friday practices at Ferris because that's a game day for
high school, yeah.
For high school. Right. So I missed walkthrough and I missed the video. But, sometimes it's tough. This year we played on the east side of the state, played Davidson. Our team flew down on Wednesday to Lenore-Rhyme, and I drove from Davidson to Grand Rapids Airport. I get a 6 o'clock flight to Charlotte. I flew in a plane to Charlotte after about 4 hours sleep. Met the team before they got to the stadium so I could be at the Lenore-Rhyme game. So I didn't miss a game.
That's amazing.
What else am I to do,
So, not trying to push you out here, but how much longer do you think you'll do this?
I tell people this all the time. I say, I'm going to quit when my health will not allow it or when I die in the field. That's the two things I tell people. If I physically can't do it, or I'm going to die in the field. One of the two. So that's my goal. Fortunately, my wife and I, when I took the college job, her caveat was, we're going to go somewhere after signing day. So we would go to Hawaii for 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Annually.
Good
for you.
Well played.
Annually. That was her piece of the cake, Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you coach your college football? Okay, we're going to go. Then we're going to go. We went to Maui every year. In fact, the year before when she died, we had plans to go there for 6 weeks in the following year, but COVID and all that changed everything. But anyway, the point is, I'm going to keep coaching. It's in my blood, and I want to be able to see my grandson. He's going to start playing freshman football this year, so I want to be able to see him play also. So on Thursday nights after Ferris practice, I'm going to go up to watch freshmen play and coach special teams at practice that day, and stay all night for the varsity game, and then I'll be back for a team meal on Saturday.
You are a machine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've got probably another practice or meeting to get to. Otherwise, we could have done this another 3 hours, kept this talk going. This is great. Thanks for joining us, Coach Schugars. And before we sign off on this, let's thank our sponsors one more time. Grieve Law, Big Stone Therapies, Green Ridge Jewelry with Chris Dykeman and Sarah Reel, North Grove Brewers, Foundation Systems of Michigan with John Bonton, Coldwell Banker with Dave Duesenberry, Scheid Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and then our title sponsors, Van Dyke Mortgage Lakeshore, and Durga Insurance Group. Thanks again for everyone that was watching and commenting, and thanks to my co-host. And again, thank you one more time, Coach Schugars, for joining us on this.
Thank you for having me today.
Most certainly. So this was great. So this was Season 3, Episode 5 of the CatchMark Sports Podcast. I'm Scott DeCamp. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great week, everybody.